it's been reported that Cody Rhodes has indeed signed on the dotted line. He is indeed a member of the WWE roster. He has yet to make his debut. He has yet to make his return to the company on actual programming on live TV, but his debut, his return, whatever you want to call it, however you want to categorize it, is imminent. And I have two questions. Number one, is he going to appear on next Monday's go-home edition of Monday Night Raw? Or will he appear until WrestleMania itself? And I know it's a question that I just placed right now, but the answer is pretty simple due to the events of this past Monday night on Raw, where Seth Rollins pretty much threw a tantrum and said that if he didn't get an answer on his WrestleMania moment this Monday on Raw, then there would be no WrestleMania. And he would make sure of that. So for all intents and purposes, that question answered itself right there. Cody Rhodes is most likely to make his return, make his debut to WWE this Monday night on Raw. I mean, even the crowd this past Monday Night on Raw acknowledged it, chanting Cody Rhodes, and Seth Rollins himself acknowledged it to a point, calling it rumors up until then. So that's question number one, and I believe that Cody Rhodes should be making his return to WWE this Monday Night on Raw, and just to set up that match for WrestleMania. As far as who might win that match, we'll leave that for next week. Alright? And question number two, which version of Cody Rhodes will we see? Which version should we see? Will we see, and in my mind there's only two options. There is only two viable options for Cody Rhodes to make his return to WWE. Number one, have him return as his former character, as Stardust, a very recognizable character during WWE programming. He tagged teamed with Goldust. He was a tag team champion at one point, but in that character, Cody Rhodes was simply just stuck in the mid-card. He was entertaining. He was a part of the show. He was in the same level as Dolph Ziggler. And I'm not trying to throw shade at either of these men. They're both talented in their own right, but Stardust and Dolph Ziggler are characters currently in WWE that are just stuck where they are, or stuck where they were at one point. Doesn't seem like they would ever break that glass ceiling, and WWE took notice of that, and they just kept them, for lack of a better phrase, in their place. So, to WWE, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, I would not recommend having Cody Rhodes return as Stardust. As entertaining as it would be to have the current version of Seth Rollins, who's crazy, who's loopy, who's very much Joker-esque, interact with Stardust, another crazy Looney Tunes character in WWE, that would just be so funny, so comedic for the very first or 2 or 3 interactions between them, but it wouldn't be as serious. So we have the second option. The second option is to have the American Nightmare himself, Cody Rhodes, make an appearance in WWE. And there are reports stating that this would make quite a statement to the IWC. It would make quite a statement to wrestlers currently in AEW who don't have any past with WWE. In the matter of that, Cody Rhodes built himself up on the indies. His stint in New Japan. Did he wrestle in New Japan? I'm not sure. His stint in Impact Wrestling, his stint in Ring of Honor Wrestling, his stint in AEW. He built out all that up. He became a more serious wrestler. He became an NWA World Champion. during that time. He is a former world champion now, returning to WWE. But to have Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare, the former EVP and founding member of AEW, that man, that version of Cody Rhodes appear on WWE TV, that would send an earthquake in today's wrestling world. That would send a hell of a message to guys like Kenny Omega, to guys like the Young Bucks, to guys like Hangman Page, like MJF, like Chris Jericho himself. If you come to WWE, if you return to WWE, if that's your case, we're not going to put you down. We're going to treat you with respect. And even though you will have to pay your dues and work your way up the card because even though you're coming from the competition and we want to treat you with respect and we want to treat you like a star, you're not going to be hot-shotted into the main event just because you came from that place. But you will be given a fair chance, and that's something that the WWE right now should be sending out there to any and every performer out there working for their competitors. So it would be in WWE's best interest to have Cody Rhodes return as the American Nightmare in a more serious capacity. Give us a serious feud. Really try to get Cody Rhodes over, because as we all know, if you have Brock Lesnar, a part-time superstar who debuted back in 2002, still be a part of the main event of WrestleMania and still be an active member of your main event scene, then that really spells trouble for WWE, because they can't create newer stars. They have to work on that. So hopefully Cody Rhodes returns at the American Nightmare and faces off against Seth Rollins this Monday on Raw. What do you think? First of all, do you think Cody Rhodes will indeed return this Monday night on Raw? Do you think that they're going to wait until WrestleMania itself to have him return? Do you think he's going to come back as the American Nightmare? Do you think he's going to come back as Stardust? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comment section below, and leave them down there. Do you agree with my opinions on this situation? I'm sure most of you don't, and if you don't, I'll be fine to read those thoughts as well. So leave them in the comment section below.